Welcome everybody. This is the 8th session of Yoga in Salt Spring on my YouTube channel, and today we're going to take a gentle approach to forward extensions. I've been hearing about some classes that Abhijata, that is BKS Iyengar's granddaughter, has been giving electronically over Zoom, and one of the recommendations she's made during this period of pandemic for the whole world, where we're maybe suffering from anxiety or restlessness, away from our usual schedule, not having any motivation, her recommendation is to only go as far as 80% of your effort and capability when you're practicing yoga. So 80% instead of going full out for every pose. So we're going to draw back a little, be a little more reflective in our practice today. And some of you might appreciate that and come back to this class more frequently during this period of social isolation. So I'm going to read you a short piece from one of the letters that she's written to Iyengar students worldwide. It's very fitting and something to reflect on. So feel free to sit in a comfortable position, cross-legged maybe. You can close your eyes and just rest and listen. We are confined to our homes, and nature has forced upon us a time to just pause. Though courage is an asset for a yoga practitioner, equally important is sensitivity to the present moment. This is a forced time for self-study for us. Your practice sessions can now be so enriching because you are practically locked down. Take up asanas, pranayama, that's yogic breathing, concepts and books that you have always shoved under the carpet. We always complained we had no time on our hands. Here it is. Find the joy in quiet practice sessions. I think that's a key phrase here. Find the joy in quiet practice sessions. Find the actions and responses in each asana and pranayama. So there are some guidelines for us to find the joy in quiet practice sessions, which is what we're going to be doing today. So what you'll need, and I'll give you a minute to get these ready, are some blankets. I've got 3, but if you don't have 3, we can work it out. A strap, a couple of bricks, 2 is plenty, a chair, and a bolster. And if you have a wall at your back, even the narrow end of the wall, that would be helpful but not essential. So we're going to begin lying on our back in a version of Supta Padangustasana. All you need for that is your belt. So lie down with the knees bent, stretch out the back so that the skin of the back spreads over your mat. Take the tailbone down towards the heels and clasp the hands around the right knee, bring it close into the body. So you're lengthening the side body, clasping the knee close into the body. And then release. Left side, bring it close into the body. So we're getting some access to the joints as we stretch. Take the strap in your hands, reach it over the head, lengthen the arms. If your hands don't reach down to the ground, you can place a brick or a bolster under them to give them some support. Simply lengthen through the legs, through the arms in a Supta Tadasana. Breathe and stretch. And then bringing the arms back with the strap ready, you're going to bend the right knee, bring it up to the chest, loop the strap over the ball of the foot, straighten the leg to 90 degrees. So release the shoulders down, lengthen through the inner leg, right up to the inner ankle, the inner heel. Stretch the heel up towards the sky. Big toe mound goes up, little toe comes down. So we're activating the muscles. And then by putting the strap around the heel, activating the joints. So move your strap to the inner heel, the neck of the heel, as it's often called, and still extend the heel up towards the sky. Take a breath in and bring the leg towards you. Bend the elbows out to the side, bring the leg towards you. Still stretching out the leg that's on the floor. Both legs stretched. Open the backs of the knees, backs of the thighs. Soften the groins. That hip crease, soften the hip crease. Bring the leg back. And then to become more aware of the hip crease, take the thumb inside that crease between the thigh and the pelvis and roll it out to the side. Roll it out to the side. And take that stretch one more time. And then bend the knee to release, stretch the leg out, and observe for a breath or two the difference. And then bend the left leg, the strap on the ball of the foot, raise the leg to 90 degrees. So stretch the inner leg now, both legs in fact. Lift the heel towards the ceiling, the mound of the big toe. Stretch the inner leg and then move the strap back to the heel. So now you can feel a little difference as you're activating the joints rather than the muscles. Take a breath in. Bring the leg towards you. Feeling a little resistance there in the hips, so we'll go back. Take the thumb, put it in the thumb crease, roll that hip crease down and out, down and out. So where the thigh meets the hip, roll it away. Create space. Inhale one more time and bring the leg closer to you. And then release, stretch out both legs. Bend the knees and roll to the side to come up. Put aside the belt, bring in your chair. And I've got a little height on the chair in the form of a bolster. You can use a stack of blankets, you can use bricks, you can use books, you can improvise with whatever you've got. So I'm going to take Uttanasana. So begin with the feet hip width apart, lift the chest tall, hands on the hips, exhale forward. Now I want to keep the legs vertical, rest the arms and rest my head. Now your head may come higher, which is fine, so you can still rest the arms, rest the head. Find that place that works for you. Remember, this is a softer pose, a softer approach to forward extensions. And as you settle in, on inhalation, lift up the chest, so it's lifting up, coming forward. On an exhalation, spread through the upper back. So inhale, lift up the chest. Exhale, spread through the upper back. Broaden the back. Soften the skin on the back. So the legs remain strong. You're lifting the kneecaps, opening the backs of the knees, backs of the thighs. And then press the hands into the chair as you bend the knees to come up. Tadasana. Next pose is going to be recognizable to you as it's the reverse of the one we did before that. So instead of Supta Padangusthasana, lying down, raising the leg, this time we're standing, raising the leg. So Uttita Hasta Padangusthasana, and I'm going to begin by standing on my right leg, raising the left leg. So you want to be a little closer than that. Resting the foot on the back of the chair. If this is too high for you, you stack your own height. Maybe you want it simply here. So work out your height. Stretch the leg away from you, and then the thumb in the hip crease works the same way. So we're rolling that hip down, hands on the hips, lifting tall, lifting through the chest, spreading the back. If you have your balance firmly, we're going to raise the arms. If not, keep them on the hips or be beside a wall so that you can use the wall. Stretch the arms up. So now this is very much how we were when we were lying on the mat. We had gravity to help us then, now we're having to work a little harder. So wrap the front thighs towards each other and be balancing on all 4 points of the foot. Mound of the big toe pressed down, circumference of the heel pressed down. Breathe. And then release the hands to the hips, bend the knee, come down. Take a breath. Put the weight on the right leg, bend the knee, stretch it out. Hands on the hips, thumb into the hip crease, roll it down. Steady yourself, get your balance. Spread the soles of the feet so that all 4 corners are pressed down onto your mat. And then get ready to stretch the arms up. Bring them back to the ears, open the chest. And again, wrapping the front thighs towards each other. Thumb in the hip crease, rolling down here to get an evenness across the pelvis. So we're still creating stretch in the front chest before we take the forward bends. And then hands to the hips, release down. Next is Parsvottanasana, a standing pose. We're going to step forward with the right leg, back with the left leg. And this is a pose where we square the hips. If your hips are not square enough to enable you to reach forward, move the right foot to the side, which will give more space for the hips to line up facing forward. So hands on the hips, open the chest, exhale forward. And when you've come down halfway, get a sense of whether the hips are even, whether the pelvis is even. You want to be able to balance something that you know, your favorite tipple, maybe a glass of Sauvignon Blanc or a cup of tea. And then rest the arms, rest the forehead. Still lengthening through the front chest, lifting up as you inhale, exhale, expand the back, upper chest, so the thoracic spine. Keep your consciousness in the front chest as you're lifting up with your inhalation, lengthening through the front chest, and releasing the back skin with your exhalation. One more breath. And then take a breath in, push yourself up, hands on the hips, and step forward. And then right leg back. Catch your balance. You may need to move the left leg to the side to create more of an evenness in the pelvis. Open the chest, inhale, exhale forward. Thumb in the hip crease, roll it back. Rest the arms, rest the head. And again, an evenness through the pelvis by bringing this hip crease back, pressing down on the big toe mound of the front foot, lengthening through the front chest with your inhalation. And both legs opening at the back, back of the knee, back of the thigh, unzipped, completely open. And then to come up, press the hands into the seat, hands on the hips, and step forward. We're going to take advantage of the wall now, if you have a wall behind you, and I'll demonstrate both ways, with the wall and without. So the first pose we're going to do is Uttanasana, which we did a few moments ago, so it'll be the same as that. The benefit of the wall, and again this has been something that Abhijata, BKS Iyengar's granddaughter, has recommended during this period, is to use the wall as a support. It's one of the biggest props that BKS Iyengar ever used, and imagine that the wall has got your back during this period. So the first one, I'll do it without the wall, is going to be Uttanasana. So you'll take the forward bend, rest the head, rest the arms. The second one will be legs wide apart in Prasarita Padottanasana, forward bend, rest the head, rest the arms. And build it up to the height that you need in order to keep the legs vertical and lengthen the front chest. Heel and toe to come out. And I'm going to turn this around and show you the forward bend against the wall. So I'm taking Uttanasana, feet against the wall, head rested, lengthening through the spine. So once you've taken the pose that's right for you, either legs against the wall, lengthening the spine, resting the head, or with no wall, freestanding. Let the brain be quiet as it rests on your bolster or your chair. And then press the hands into the chair to come up, widen the legs. You'll need to take the chair a little further away from you. Stretch the legs out wide, have the hands on the bolster and lengthen forward. Rest the hands on the bolster or catch the wrist. Pressing the sitting bones into the wall, pressing the back of the legs into the wall to keep the legs vertical. So the wall is now your prop. Keep the knees lifted, kneecaps lifted, the thighs firm. Focus on your breath, long inhalations as you lift the sternum bone, soft exhalations as you spread the skin on the upper back. And then to come up, press the hands into the chair, heel and toe to get closer, and then come up. This is the part of the class where I'm going to offer headstand, Shirsasana, to those who regularly practice it, but it's not a time to learn headstand. So Shirsasana now for 3 minutes, those of you who regularly practice, either against the wall or freestanding, and the rest of us will take a forward bend. And this is a different type of Uttanasana, still using the chair. So take a blanket or two, depending on your need for height. If you need more height, take more support on the back of your chair so that you could have two. Take the feet slightly apart in Uttanasana and then lift the whole of the belly as you come forward over your chair. Stretch the arms forward, maybe catch the legs of the chair and rest the head down. Arms are softly resting, forehead resting on the chair. And depending on the height of your chair, you may need to improvise a little. You could even be stepping back and have your head resting on the bed. There are many ways that we can do this if we don't have all the props we need. So strong in the legs, lifting up, releasing over the front of the chair or the stool or the bed, and head resting down. So there are many ways you can take forward bends, no matter how restricted you are in your body. So to come up, keep the legs strong, press down the feet, lift the kneecaps, push the hands into the chair, slowly come up to vertical and Tadasana. Those of you in Sirsasana, come out, lift the shoulders to release down and take pose of a child for a few breaths. We're now going to take some seated poses. The first one is Bharadvajasana, which is a chair twist or a seated twist. So I'm going to give you the chair version. To start off with. So those of you who perhaps have restrictions with your knees might want to take the pose with the chair. So if you have a brick handy, you can place it between the knees to keep the knees lined up with the ankles, with the hips. We're going to lift the chest, turn towards the chair, catch the chair with each hand, releasing the shoulders down but broadening across the collarbones, and turn. Looking over the left shoulder. And breathe. So stamp down the feet, keep the knees side by side, the hips side by side, and turn from the waist, looking over the left shoulder. We'll then switch to the other side after a few breaths. And for those of you seated, we'll begin in Dandasana. Swing the legs around to your left. Top foot sits in the arch of the bottom foot, and the support is under the right hip. We're going to turn away from the legs, so bring the right hand to the left hip and the left hand behind you, and turn. Grounding down with the hip crease here, so both sitting bones grounding, turning to look over the left shoulder. So inhale, lift up, exhale, turn. Inhale, lift up, exhale, turn. Hold it for one more breath. And then release. Extend the legs out in Dandasana. Chair people, turn, take the other side. And we're going to move the blanket over to the right buttock. Swing the legs now to your left. Have the right hand behind you and left hand in front of you, and begin to turn. Turn, look over the right shoulder. So lift with the in-breath, turn with the out-breath. Lift with the in-breath, turn with the out-breath. This is Bharadvajasana. Release your hands, release your legs. Chair people, release and sit forward. We're going to take a couple of forward bends, Paschimottanasana and Triang. So I'm going to give you Triang first. This is a seated pose on the floor. Anybody who has issues with their knees, do the same pose again on the chair. Otherwise, bring the left knee beside you in Virasana. Keep the blanket under the other side. So there's a space between my heel and my hip. I'm sitting tall and I'm going to come forward over the bolster. So the bolster is here and I can come forward and rest my head down there. If that is indeed too far, simply bring the chair a little closer to you and rest the head on the chair. So you've got a couple of choices here. If the bolster is going to work for you, you're going to release forward, rest the head and the arms on the bolster, lengthening through the front body as you release the head softly down and keep a quiet brain. You might find you're tipping to one side a little, so you have to press down, again that thumb in the hip crease area to get some pressure on the bent knee side as you release forward. And then take a breath, press the hands into your bolster to come up. And if there are some poses that speak to you here and you like to do them later on during the week, then include them in your practice time. And maybe take a special focus on forward bends this week. Now we're going to bring the left leg back into Virasana. Rolling the calf out to the side, creating a space with your thumb between the left hip and the left heel. Extending the right leg forward with some support under the right hip. Bring your bolster in place, or in fact if you're using the chair, rest the head on the chair. If you're using the bolster, lift up, exhale forward and rest. Now you have to put some weight on the left side, lengthen the left side of the body to even out your forward bend. Give yourself time in every pose to connect with every part of the body, the back body, the front body, the hips, and the quiet brain. And then take a breath in, press the hands into your bolster and lift up. Finish off in Dandasana. We have one more pose to do in this format, which is going to be Paschimottanasana, which is both legs reaching forward. So again, there are two ways that we'll do that. You can choose what is best for you. Using a chair, you're going to sit on the very edge of the chair. So sitting bones just on the chair, stretch them out either side, press the heels into the mat and have a folded blanket underneath the hips in the hip crease. So as you lift up and come forward, make sure the chair is on a sticky mat. You're going to rest your head down, and perhaps at this point you'd like another blanket so that you've got something to rest your head on at this point. as you come down. So that's one option, and the other option is to do Paschimottanasana on your mat. And you can take the bolster in front of you. So the legs can be slightly apart for a more restorative version of the pose. And again, you can have the blanket folded in the hip crease to broaden through the front chest and most particularly the back chest. So take your forward bend, stretch the elbows out, release the head down in a restful forward bend, Paschimottanasana, supported. So remain in the pose for a few more breaths. With the elbows out wide, release the head. Distinguish between the in-breath and the out-breath. The in-breath, you're lifting the sternum, reaching forward a little. The out-breath, feel the breath in the back of the lungs, spreading the upper back. And then take a breath in, press the hands into your bolster to come up. And we're going to take two versions of Savangasana, so shoulder stand, to finish off. The first is going to be on your bolster, on your mat. So you'll put the bolster, if it's a flattish bolster, on top of a folded blanket. Sit on the bolster. So this is going to raise the chest in the same way that a shoulder stand does, without the shoulder stand itself. So slowly allow yourself to come back until the shoulders are just down on the floor. Stretch the legs out, they don't need to be together. Stretch the arms out, let the back of the neck be long, and then completely let go. So the legs are relaxed, the arms are relaxed, the shoulders are just touching down on your mat. So you've got a big lift in this chest area, broad across the collarbones up here, expansion for the lungs, diaphragm soft. Close your eyes and enjoy that expansion in the chest and the whole abdominal area. Use your breath to connect through the different layers of the body, the skin, the muscle, the joints, the bones. Then taking a deeper breath, bend your arms one at a time, bend your knees. And the best way to come out of this is to lift up the buttocks, slide out the bolster, and then slowly release the lower back down onto the mat. Lengthen the spine. And then bring the knees to the chest, roll over, and sit up. Next, we're going to do the last pose before Shavasana, which is Viparita Karani. Take a bolster or your stack of blankets just in front of the wall, leaving about 3 or 4 inches gap, about the width of a brick. spread out your blanket, tuck it under, and this is where your back will be, this is where your hips will be, and your legs will be up the wall. And this is how we get into the pose. You sit on the edge of your bolster, support your hand, your body with your hand, and you can use the wall as you pivot on the hips. So you're pivoting on the hips, allow the shoulder to roll under and bring the legs up the wall. You allow the buttocks to tip down into that little gap. You can separate the legs slightly, get a connection between the sitting bones and the wall if you can. The chest is open again, arms out to the sides, maybe in a cactus kind of shape. Back of the neck is long. You're looking into the heart, and then close your eyes. Completely let go. In this pose, Viparita Karani. It's a very healing, very nourishing pose that you can do any time of day. It can be after exercise, it can be to replenish your energy, and it can even be after a meal because there is no constriction on the abdomen. So this is a pose you might like to come back to later on in the week. Take one more breath. Bend the knees onto the chest. Bring the arms onto the shins. And then roll onto your right side to come up. And prepare for Shavasana. So I'm going to give you a slightly different setup with your blankets today. If you have enough blankets, we'll take 2 blankets here. That'll be for the shoulders and for the trunk. We'll have 1 blanket for the head. So this will be around the neck and the shoulders. And if you have a bolster, it can be nice to have that over the thighs. And this is a time to get warm. Make sure that your heat is cranked up, your phone is switched off, you've got an extra blanket, a pullover or socks ready, and lie down over your blankets. So it's a gentle slope under the lower back, nothing harsh. So take the hands onto the skin of the buttocks, slide it down towards the heels. Bring your support for the head in to the shoulders. Back of the neck is long, throat is soft. Stretch the legs out one by one, let them drop to the sides, and then lengthen through the arms. If you'd like a bolster over the thighs, set that up. And let the palms of the hand be soft. The fingers curl softly up. And take some long, slow inhalations, soft, smooth exhalations as you completely let go in Shavasana. As you relax the eyes, feel heavy, they move deeper into the head. Eyelids close completely. Soften the temples, soften the skin on the forehead. Relax the inner corner of the eyes. Relax the nostrils, the lips, the inner ear. Relax the jaw and the throat. Let the tongue be loose in the floor of the mouth. Separate the upper jaw from the lower jaw. And the lips can be slightly parted. Take the focus to the breath. With all the work that you've done to expand the rib cage, give the lungs space to expand, you should be able to feel a deep in-breath and a long, slow out-breath. Helping you to connect mind and body. Go back to this gentle forward extension practice as often as you can. Treat your body gently to 80% of your capacity. As you nurture your body during this time of change. So feel free to remain in your Shavasana. I'll see you next time. Namaste.